Michel here. I have been looking for someone to teach me how to take a picture of my granddaughter so I can put it on a Christmas card, and my children have given up. They have the pictures that my friends see of them think there's something wrong. So anyway, this is Susan Michel, an amazing photographer of children.
Thank you. That's very sweet. Thank you. Okay, do we have reverb on this thing? Can we turn it off? There you go. Is that better? Can you understand better? Yeah. Okay, so just a little preliminary. First, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I have been a professional photographer here in Jacksonville, Florida for almost 30 years. It's hard to believe. And I predominantly photograph families and children. I've done about 800 weddings, probably 1,000 families, and way more children than I can possibly count. So I can wrangle in these little suckers, that's for sure. I do have a studio over in Mandarin. I have 2 acres of land there. That was the smartest thing that I ever did when back in 1999, I bought that piece of property, and I basically say I bought a garden. In the studio's not much to look at, but the land is pretty spectacular. And just even last week, I photographed a senior. I photographed her when she was a little girl, so I'm old enough to be doing that now. In fact, I just did the wedding of a child I photographed since he was 3 years old, so it's just kind of insane. But I walked out the front door, and I have some of this stuff that we've bought at, imaging and PPA, and the green and the red leaves were hanging over it, and then right behind it, a stream of green and red leaves were hanging. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've never done that before in 30 years at this studio. Go stand right there. It was so easy. It was so beautiful. And it just looked like something you had planned. And that's what happens at the studio. So it's pretty cool. Anybody that ever wants to come, if you want your family done, if there's anything I can ever do for you, please feel free to reach out. I am so excited that you have such a wonderful big group going here. And so we'll talk about photographing children. Now, I am recording this today, and I'll explain later why I'm doing that. But in the meantime, if anybody has any questions about all of this stuff, y'all let me know. Notice that hair light back there? Is it lighting up my little hairdo? That's something you want to look for when you're photographing people, and especially children. Children move a lot, and just subconsciously, I realize that I see that stuff. Of course, I've been doing this a really long time. And you walk out, and it's not as hard for me because I've watched for that kind of thing. I mean, that's the kind of thing you want to watch for. I just saw it when they were up here speaking, and that light looks so pretty on them. And we don't really realize what a difference just little subtle things make. So let's talk about photographing children. How many people in here think they would want to photograph children for money? Anybody? Okay, so there's a few things in here that we'll talk about that. It'll be predominantly not that, but we will talk about that because I really just can't help but talk about that since that's what I do, right? And how many people have grandchildren they would like to photograph? Okay, God bless you. Because it's always much nicer when they pay, because they can be pretty mean sometimes, Okay, well, children are just so inquisitive. They're special little innocents, and they're curious, and they want to play. And John Payton, I photographed his children. Connor just interned with Susie Wiles at the White House. Did you guys know that? Yes, so I was the photographer for Connor when he was born. John was mayor, and they called, and he said, "Catherine won't let anyone in the room but you. Come photograph the 3 of us for the newspaper." And so I got to photograph Connor. And he said, the thing about you is you just get down on their level. You always have. And it stuck with me because it's true. I just want to play with them. I want to talk to them on their level. I want to just make them feel as comfortable as they can be. And now when it's your own kids, and I refer to your grandchildren as your own kids because I have a great nephew right now, and he's 3. And so I know exactly, you're in the trenches when it's your own children. It is a little bit different. But just reacting to their innocence is so important, I believe, and loving them. So our goal is for it to be authentic. We want to catch that emotion. We want to catch spontaneity, the energy, the curiosity. we want it to be genuine and we want it to be timeless, right? I think my photography with children as we go through, back in the day when I did this picture of this little girl, this was considered way out there. You know, I mean, I used a very shallow depth of field, just her eyes are in focus. I mean, it was just her playing in it. And her mom, of course, she was doing a formal portrait, but she bought this too because she couldn't help it. And of course, that would be my goal, is they can't help but buy more than just one. But this was just so this child, and this child is probably 30 by now, but this has always been one of my very favorite children's portraits. Because it just catches that timeless, classic elegance and the absolute the essence of the child, as these do too. It doesn't matter if it's inside or if it's outside. I believe this is what you're looking for. We've got to respect the little people. They're sensitive, they're intuitive, they're gonna pick up. If you're nervous, if your energy's off, if you're expecting, something, and it's hard not to expect something. You want to do something amazing, but sometimes you just have to let it be what it's going to be and respect their little personalities. And I'll talk to you about how it was to photograph my little Wei a couple of days ago. He didn't know Aunt Susie was a very, very well-known children's photographer. He didn't care. You want to avoid things like forced smiles, prolonged poses, awkward poses. You don't want to get frustrated. You don't want to put them in scary situations. I mean, I've been in my day certainly guilty of sitting a little child up on, one of the trucks or something, and they freak out because it's too high and they think that mom's not going to, be there to catch them. So we have to be really careful about putting them in situations that freak them out. And also, unrealistic expectations on our part is going to create a lot of frustration for us, and it's going to create tension with them. They're going to feel that if you have that in you. So you have to really just be a child with the child. That's the most important thing. Move, please. Thank you. There you go. Okay, so we want to set ourselves up for success. Never was that truer than it was the other day when I did my little great nephew, because we want to have everything ready to go. We want to plan a few sure ideas. So I think sometimes people want to go beyond what they need to go. Sometimes you just need to go, okay, where can I sit this child where it's going to be super simple, the light's going to be beautiful, and no matter what they do, I'm going to be able to capture them. And often those are the very best ones. I always start with a sure plan at the studio before I do anything I'll call extravagant or go out and, try to put them in some crazy, beautiful light and all this stuff. It's still going to be beautiful light, but it's going to be very even, especially with a little child. They're going to move around. So you can't have them in a very specific light. Yes, you can have a pretty hair light behind them. You can have a beautiful wash of soft light, but you can't have them in a lighting situation where if they step off 2 inches, they're all of a sudden in some kind of a harsh sun. You want to talk to them like a normal person. Don't, a lot of baby talk and all of that stuff, because it really doesn't work. I mean, and you don't want to get in their face. I see a lot of photographers do this, especially newer photographers. They want to love on the baby and hug and kiss on them when they first come in. Those little babies do not want you to do that. Even your grandkids sometimes, they want you to just get out of their face and leave them alone. And, you have to give them time to acclimate to you. And be prepared to use bribery. I mean, we have lollipops and all kinds of stuff at the studio. We've got, we have little toys and things, and I will bribe them all throughout that session. And just don't try to do too much. I think that's what most people are guilty of, trying to do too much. If they think, if they don't only do 10 minutes, that it's not enough. And sometimes you can get in 10 minutes everything you need, even if someone's paying. Because children don't typically last that long. I will say that I can get more out of children than most people because I've been doing this a really long time. I will let a child sit and scream their head off. I've had it happen so many times. And the moms are ready to give up and go home, and I'm like, let's just go sit in the studio, get a glass of water, get a Coke, something. Let's just let them play a little bit. Let's give them a second to readjust. Sometimes if we have a child in the studio that's having an issue, we'll just take them outside, or vice versa. We'll let them, play with the blocks for a few minutes, and just get their mind, what is it, the Tony Robbins thing, the NLP or whatever, where you just change their mindset. And children are so easily persuaded to be happy. Sometimes I say they're just psycho, because they will literally be laying on the floor screaming one minute, and the next minute they're up laughing and giggling and giving you the cutest things ever. So, try not to give up too soon, but give them a little bit of break. Okay, so you want to play and make it fun. This is a great example of a safe spot. This is the front stairs at the studio. There's the little steps. If you saw this place, you would not be excited and think, oh my God, that's going to make the most beautiful portrait. And I literally walked over it for 10 years. And the first time I photographed a couple of kids here, I'm like, oh my, why haven't I done that my whole life? I mean, I should have been using that spot. And so, we just set this little guy there and just started getting him to laugh. And this was the portrait that Mom bought, because this is what Mom wants a lot of times. Be ready for the unexpected. This little girl was incredibly shy. She did not want to do this necessarily, and she was kind of playing hide and go seek with me. She just was not really gonna stand in the place that I thought I wanted her to stand. And she came through this little bush and gave me that look, and my heart melted. I just love this portrait of this child. So don't overlook things like this, because sometimes this is going to be the most beautiful image that you get. So let's talk a little bit about equipment. I do use Canon, not that that really matters. Any camera will do. But a long lens is really nice for children, because that way you get out of their face, right? You're back off. You're just kind of observing what they're doing. Give yourself time, and I think even if it's a grandparent or an auntie, we want to go. We don't, and I find a lot of photographers, I tell them, just take a breath, step back, and just watch what's going on. Even if somebody's paying me now, I'm confident enough, thankfully, at this point, that it doesn't bother me to just go, let's just hang out for a second. Let me just watch them. Let me just kind of see what they're happy doing. And because our goal is always, we want the most natural looking. Parents, the biggest problem is they don't want that cheesy smile, right? Like, they don't think I don't know that they don't want that cheesy. I know they don't want that cheesy smile. And I am the queen at getting not the cheesy smile. But I love, this little kid just did this on his own. So I like to use the 70 to 200. And here's the thing, guys, that 70 to 200 goes to 200 for a reason. Use the 200. Because what I see a lot of people doing is pulling it back to the 70 or 75 and getting right up on the kid. And now that kid just looks weird in the frame, Pull it out to all the way to the 200 and use that so that you get that beautiful blurred background and that separation. I do like to shoot wide open. It doesn't matter if you're at 4.0 or 5.6, either one will do. But I would not want to shoot at 11, because I do want that stuff to go kind of blurry and beautiful in the background. And if I go outside at the studio, typically this is what I'm going to set up at to start. Now, I may have to change my ISO, and I may have to play with my shutter speed a little bit, depending on the light and all of that. But generally speaking, this is where I'm going to start. And then I'll just start adjusting things if I need to. With children, I'd like to tell you that I use flash, and it's just beautiful. But if Michael Joseph did he talk to you about working outside? So Michael loves to use flash outside. I hate to use flash outside. Now, I've done it all my life with weddings and stuff, and I can use fill flash with the best of them. But I just a lot of times don't see any point in killing myself and trying to move that 4,000 times when I'm chasing a 2 or a 3-year-old. Yes, sometimes if it's a little bit older children, maybe I would want to do that, but it's really not my style. I really do enjoy just finding this beautiful soft light, putting children in the beautiful light and letting them move around and being very observant. I do enjoy using a reflector sometimes if I need it. And if it's a young child, it is helpful to have some toys, a little noisemaker. I like little jingle bells. Never give it to Mom, because she's going to put it right in your ear and she's going to jingle it 5,000 times. What you want to do is jingle a little bit and then just stop and get them to look at you just like this. And then they're gonna look when you go boop, 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 and you jingle a little bit more. Because what people will do if you hand it to them is they'll just get behind your ear and they'll just jingle it constantly. And you're like, okay, come on, stop. Because now we've lost the effectiveness of the noise, right? Another thing that I use a lot is a little cat toy, you know, one of those long things where you do the little cat with a little feather on it. And I don't know why, but they think that's hilarious. And I mean, you can't, sometimes you can touch them with it, sometimes you can't. And you just, a lot of times that thing is really good because if they're like looking all over the place and you want them to look a specific place, if you put that little cat toy right where you want them to look, especially in the studio, it's very effective in the studio, then their little eyes are going to go right to where that is. And so there's all kinds of little tricks. You know, simple props like this little tricycle. I didn't really care that that little tricycle was in there. It's just an easy place for me to sit a child and guess what? Keep them in one place for 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Sometimes, especially with a young child, you just want them to stay somewhere for a couple of minutes. And if you put them in a box or in a little wheelbarrow or on a little chair or on a little tricycle, and sometimes you'll have to change it up. We have stuff laying all over the studio, all kinds of little chairs and things where we can move them from thing to thing because they don't want to sit on one thing for 20 minutes. They want to move, they want to change, then they get excited. It's amazing how excited they get about some silly thing. And now you're in a new location and all of a sudden you get a whole little batch of new pictures. And I will tell you that if people want to ask, for those of you who might want to make some money, I spent $30 on this old barn door. I found it one day at some place, I forget, somewhere down in San Marco one day, $30, because a lot of times those things will be like $200-300. And when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, that is so mine. So it's this beautiful blue on one side. It's about that wide, just wide enough. I have probably sold 75 wall portraits off of that door, and I paid $30 for it. And this is just what it looks like when I sit a little child in front of it, and it's perfect for boys. So those kinds of things are fun to have too. But you know what? It's sitting in the perfect spot at the studio, so I know exactly what the light's going to look like. And if I want to take a child and sit him there, I know it's going to be gorgeous immediately. Working with parents, I put this in here because, of course, obviously I have to work with parents. If you're not making a living doing this, you don't have to work with parents. But you have to work with your family, and they are parents, and they are sometimes worse. And we're going to talk some about that. But working, you know, sometimes the moms are just really tough, even if it's your own daughter or your niece or whoever it might be. Sometimes you're working harder to get rid of their tension than the child and your attention. Sometimes, now it's nice to have them sometimes, especially if it's a young child and they can kind of spot them or they can do the running around. If they're not paying, make them do the running around. If a 2-year-old's going to leave 400 times, you make them do that running around. But sometimes it's really hard because they are trying to get the kid to look. They don't realize they're over here trying to get the kid to smile, and you're over here and you don't even want the kid to smile. You just want everybody to shut up so the kid will look at you and give you that beautiful face and bloom, that's it. Let's go home, you know? So working with other people, let's say, is very difficult. I've gotten in tiffs with my sister when I'm photographing her grandchild, and the kid's 13 and she was a little pudgy, and I was trying to make sure that she didn't look pudgy, but my sister's over in another area telling her how to move and what to do, and I said, can you just let me do this, because this is what I do? And of course she's mad at me now, you know. So I mean, if it's a little kid, they're going to pick up on that tension, right? So the truth about photographing family, the good, bad, and the ugly, it can be difficult. Look, they're not paying you to do this. And sometimes you might be better off just sending them to me and letting them pay someone like me so they know how hard you're working to get this for them. Because I hate to say it, but they don't always appreciate it or respect it. And you know, I've given family thousands and thousands of dollars worth of portraits for Christmas over the years, and you haul them in and it's freezing and you got them all framed up, and they don't always realize how hard it is to do that. So, family dynamics are very difficult when you're working with children and trying to photograph them, and the parents are expecting something. And you know, while I'm saying that, let me just put this in here really quick. It's a little off topic, but I didn't put a slide in here about it. Make sure that the clothes are really simple. And like, if mom shows up with, you know, gingerbread and fur, that's gonna, this doesn't make, to me, it doesn't make the best portrait. If it's got frilly arms or it's got a fussy collar and it gets in their face, man, all of that stuff just works against you. Think backwards and eliminate every single problem you could have except for the child. Clothes that are too fussy and itchy and getting in, if you're working with a collar that's getting in a kid's face, how many times do you miss the shot because the collar's up in the kid's face? So just really think about what is the simplest, easy thing, you know, to work with. Let's see, I think this is way. Okay, so I had the grand idea. He's he's closer to 3 than 4, let's put it that way. And he's a sweet, super smart child, and you'll see he's beautiful. So I told my other niece, not his mom, I said, come to the studio on Saturday. I'm gonna have Waylon, and let's go try to put him on the little fishing set, because I haven't photographed him in a while. And he's intrigued by the camera when he gets to hold it. But anytime you hold up a camera to him, he wants to hide and he doesn't want to be in front of it. I'm like, come on, do you know whose child you are? Come on, this is insulting. But he doesn't like it. And so I really did not expect to have as hard a time. If I showed you the video, because I tried to video it, if I showed you the video of this session, you would laugh. I mean, it was terrible. He was terrible. And my niece said, well, did we get anything? And I said, I don't think so. And I finally looked at him this afternoon, and I didn't even have him in here. And I said, oh, I've got to show these people what we got, because it was a freaking miracle. I mean, look at that. You would never know what a little hellion he was. I mean, this is what he said to me, Susu, I am not happy. And he has his arms crossed. And then he goes, I'm very angry at you right now. And then he runs off the set, and then Taylor goes and gets him and puts him back on. And this was over in 8 minutes. And I just said, you know what, I'm done. I don't know what's going on with you today, but I am not doing this. But how beautiful is that? Because I was ready. We had something cute on him that wasn't gonna mess me up. I mean, I'm real happy with these.
Did you have a mirror?
I do.
Okay.
So this is the fairy set that I do, and I turn it into Gone Fishing for boys. And the beauty of this set is that mirror reflects light back up in their face. So it's just a lighting thing, right? And it just really, it works. So that's Waylon's pictures, and I was really, really surprised that we got anything. So, you know, sometimes you're going to get stuff you don't think you're going to get. And it doesn't always, like I said, that was under 10 minutes. I promise you that was not even 10 minutes. That child was mad at me and he was not having anything to do with it. And I cannot believe that we got those pictures out of that, because it was crazy. So don't give up, you know, give yourself a break. It's not your fault if they're in a bad mood. And, you know, just try to be prepared. And I knew I was prepared. The lighting was beautiful. All I needed him to do was sit up there for a few seconds. The biggest mistake I see people making when photographing children, by far, is standing up photographing them. You have to sit down. There's stools all over outside at the studio. And you've got to get down on their level, because you never want to be standing up and photographing down on a child. It looks so silly. They become bobble-headed. And when you want that beautiful, because if you look at this, see, you can see I'm sitting down below her. Do you see where I am when I'm photographing her? I just did her senior session. But I just have all these little favorites in my favorite bucket, and I just share all of these with you guys. Okay, so don't let them see you sweat, you know? Don't get friendly too fast. Don't tower over them. These are some of the mistakes people make. Don't be fumbling with your equipment. You know, you're in a safe spot. You're in an even light. That light is probably not going to change. That's something you can control, you know, get where you know it's not going to change. And be ready so you're not fumbling with your equipment. You need to be prepared, have all the little toys and all the little things, I used to carry Smarties in my pocket all the time. Don't give them something that's going to take them forever to eat. Don't give them a lollipop. That is not the best thing. Don't give them goldfish, for God's sake. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many people think goldfish is a good idea. That's just terrible. It's orange all over their mouth. But a Smartie is very good because you can put the whole pack down in your pocket and they know they're in there, and just give them one. And even if they're eating a Smartie, they're kind of sucking on it, so you can maybe still get pictures. They're not chomping on it like if it was a gummy bear or something. So I personally think Smarties is one of the smartest things you can do, but have them down in your pocket. Just don't get frustrated. Communicate on their level. Don't try to do too many things. Don't be rigid and overbearing. Don't try too hard, because you want to get beautiful pictures. And if your daughter's standing there, you're trying so hard. And sometimes they're like, we won't ask. I know for a fact that sometimes your children are not respecting you as a photographer. You're messing with that silly thing again, and their disrespect is just making it harder on you, right? So don't try too hard, but don't try not to lose control of the session. That can happen. And these are all things. Have a plan. These are all things that can foil your attempt at beautiful children's photography. And see, these kids, I remember them being kind of difficult, but they just looked at each other and laughed like that, and that's the one Mom wanted for the wall. And how beautiful is that? She could have bought one where they were sitting there looking perfect. We had those too, but this was them. They were twins, and this was them. Okay, that's a whole lot of personality right there. So hopefully, I will tell you, if you're trying to photograph 4 or 5 children, boy, that's tough, and God bless you. I mean, I'm a pro for a reason, and maybe you should just save up some of your money and come to some of us and let us deal with it, and because these kids were great. I did their parents' wedding. But that is a huge bunch of age gaps right there. I think, we got a 2-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old. Any one of them could have decided to just make this a nightmare, So you're talking to 4 different age levels at one time, and you got Mom over the back, right? So got to keep your wits about you when you're in those situations. I know, they're beautiful. God. Okay, if you're trying to photograph a newborn, let's just say this here. Newborns are not children. This is hard. This is hard for someone who knows what they're doing. And I'm not saying you can't do it. If I were going to photograph a newborn, and I were you, I would find a beautiful, big, king-size bed with a white bedspread on it, because white reflects light, and I would hope that room would be filled with beautiful, natural light. And I would lay that baby on that bed, and I would prop their little hand up maybe on a little pillow and put them in one of those little beautiful little christening or long gowns, or a little white something, pink or blue if it's a boy. And I would get, some sweet little things. But you're not going to be sitting them in buckets, and you're not going to get them to do this thing with their hands, because that's hard. And but you can still do some beautiful things with a newborn, but newborns will kick your butt because they are in charge and they know it. I'm going to just go through a few images that I've taken over the years and talk about why I love them. I love this little guy. We were doing just a session, and I have these things at the studio, and I put that little hat on him backwards and handed him the bat, and he loved baseball, and I just, that face, I just love that face. And Mom, this is the one Mom bought. This was not what she thought she was going to buy, but this is what she bought. And I loved that it was black and white or sepia toned. And it's just, for me, these kind of portraits just sing. They don't have to sit there and look at you. Sometimes, sometimes I'll purposely talk to Mom or whoever's there and ignore the child, and in my peripheral vision, I'm watching that child. And as I'm talking, I'll just go, and the mom goes, oh, and I'm like, well, then here's the selling part. Oh, did you just see that? That's your wall portrait, guarantee you. That is suggestive selling, and I do it all the time.
Susan.
Yes, dear?
Are you, this is all
Yes, ma'am. No, oh, yes, thank you. What a great question. No damn tripods. You cannot photograph a child on a tripod. Michael, Joseph, and I would go round and round about that, but I am telling you, you will not get work like this with a tripod because you have to be fluid. You have to be moving, right?
So
Great question.
you're tracking,
Oh, yeah.
I track birds.
Exactly. If you can track a bird, you can track a child. Yes. Yes. No, because, yeah, you want to be fluid. And I am because I'm a wedding shooter, I'm a handheld shooter, you know? And I just don't believe that you're going to get this kind of work if you're attached to a tripod. By the time you get the tripod where you need it, they're done. They're in the next thing. All three of these I wanted to put up and just show you. These are just beautiful little sweet headshots. They're not going to win any awards, but they are beautifully done. If you look at each one of them, you can see that the lighting's beautiful. It's very soft. They've got some hair light. There's dimension to their face. And you know, on the 2 acres that I have, what I know is it doesn't matter where you go. You can walk around and there is beautiful light all over the place. You just have to know how to find it. And you have to recognize it when you see it. So these portraits, this is your bread and butter right here if you're going to want to make a living photographing children. But this is great for your grandkids too. It doesn't have to be hard. How long, you could literally stand in your front door and take this and be done in 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be a whole blown out competition winning session. These little girls, I just did the older girls' senior pictures. We were at the beach, and their mom is she was a ballerina. She's a little perfectionist, and she wants those kids to look perfect. And I was doing something with somebody else in the family, and I turned and I saw them do that, and I just turned, and Jen looked at me and she goes, "No, you didn't." And I said, "Oh yeah, that's your picture right there." And this picture, I I sent this to her the night her daughter graduated, and I said, "Do you remember this?" And of course, we didn't give them digital files back then. I'm trying not to do it now. And she's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you found that for me." And just the sweetest thing. Sweet, sweet. Okay, go. Okay, this little girl, this was the meanest child on the earth. Oh God. So she comes to the studio. She is the only child that ever did this to me in 30 years. She stomped her foot and put her hands on her hips and said, "I am not." I'm like, oh, okay. And her mother tried so hard. It was the only child. She dressed her to the nines. She would come in there with 10 $200 dresses. And that child was not going to do it. And it was crying. Now we got some stuff. We got beautiful stuff because I worked around it and I got what we needed. I said, one day she's going to come here and she's going to hug me and she's going to love me. And this was the day. She came and she said, "Miss Susan, Mommy bought me so many pretty dresses. Let's take pictures." And I looked at the mom like, "What'd you do to that child?" And so anyway, the great story is that this image ended up being my cover for PPA magazine. I sent them 10 images and they picked this one. And so this was my first PPA magazine cover. And I cannot believe it was this child. And when I called to tell the mom, she's like, "I cannot believe you're calling and telling me this today. I was just diagnosed with cancer." I know, so you just and it was like 2 or 3 years later, and I hadn't seen them, and I didn't know that I knew they were going through something because we had mutual friends, but I didn't really know what was going on, and she had been having a lot of trouble, and they couldn't figure out what it was, and then it was cancer, and so her gift was she got her child on the front of, I said, of all the children to get on the front of the magazine, it would be this one, but she was gorgeous, of course, so. We work a lot with older children, and even with the older children, you want to make them feel comfortable. When you're photographing these age of children, you don't want them to look like an engagement couple or something, so you have to be careful, just the positioning of the hands and stuff, that it looks like brothers and sisters rather than, especially it's hard when there's just 2 of them and it's a girl and a boy. You just got to really avoid that look. And I love this kind of stuff. I could do this all day long. Simple, This is going to win awards, but it's gorgeous and it's well done and it's beautiful. This, I know, triplets. And they were sweet children, but they were a handful. I mean, there was 3 of them. And we had done the sit there and look at me portrait. You know, we'd worked to get them all to sit and look and do the beautiful smile. And then this happened. And I was just ready. And you start seeing stuff like this and you're like, that's the winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I mean, see, look. But if you look at this, can we talk about this? I'm proud of myself. Look at this. Where's my thing? Okay, see the hair light? See the catch light in their eyes? See how her eyes are lit up? I mean, there's beautiful light on them. I mean, this is just light enough back here to give a little separation. That's all you need. All right. I know. So these little wildcats, I had set up this little thing outside, and I've got these little alcove. There's, what it's like little overhangs. It was like a big garage thing, so I have 4 little bays, and we set this up. So this is actually outside with a strobe, and I think this was back when I was doing my calendar work. You remember I used to do calendars? I had calendars for years of kids, and it was called Forever Friends. And every year I had to come up with these images. And so I think this was part of one of those shoots. But these little guys just had so much fun. So if you got little guys like this, just give them something to do that they're gonna love. And then you're gonna have, real success with it. Oh, that's Coach Coughlin's little grandbaby. Isn't she cute? So the secret, I do a lot of work in the studio. And that is my secret weapon from a business standpoint, is that I do the studio work, because so many people don't do the studio work anymore. And if they do the studio work, they don't do it real well. And so in my studio, I actually went all the way to Orlando yesterday. A friend of mine is a big YouTuber, and he only talks about lighting. Well, he does grown people, models, typical, that's all he has on YouTube, never a little person. And I feel bad because I don't change my lighting up all the time. And I told him, I said, I just wanted to come watch what you do, because we changed the lighting up 50 times. And I laughed and I said, yeah, my lighting's glued to the floor. We don't change it at the studio. And it works, because why would you want to change lighting that looks like this? Or the lighting that I had on my little Wayland, right? It's just a big, beautiful 4x6 softbox. I've had it for, 25 years. The company's been out of business. And I have 2 strip box in the back, and sometimes I put a hair light up top, and that's just all there. And I go and I flip the lights on. I know exactly what all my settings are, and I put the child there. And 9 times out of 10, it's super simple like this. Now, when the little fishing set is a little bit more, proppy and all of that stuff, and it's cute, and that's something different. But most of my settings, there's just going to be a little chair and a beautiful little dress and a very timeless classic thing. Also, I have a rolling chair in the studio. I love having one of those chairs that go up and down a little bit, just a desk chair with no arms on it. No arms are important, so you can kind of move around as you need. You don't want your camera strap getting stuck on the arm. Trust me, no arms. And rolling, easy to roll, because especially when you're doing little ones, like if you're at your house and you're trying to photograph them, put them in the room, sit on your desk chair, and just sit there and watch them. And then let them play, and then roll in, and you'll get it. And roll back out. They'll never even know you took a picture. And the rolling thing is a big deal at the studio, just being able to move around and not actually get up. Because when you get up, now you're big again, right? And they see you. You don't want them to see you. You want to be discreet. And a comfy chair for mom to sit way back there. Yeah, Mom, you go sit over there. That's your chair. Okay, so we do the fairies, and this is a beautiful thing to do. This is something I do in the studio, and I swear as I get older, I'm right there behind all of you, or with you. Yeah, I never planned to get older, and it's hard to do what I do, and everything aches, and you got arthritis in this little poor finger right here, and it hurts. But I think I could do this until I die. I mean, I could do this from a wheelchair. If I can get these kids, girls between the age of 3 and 6, That's it. That'll be the last group I do before I go. But we do this little fairy thing, and this has been a big thing at the studio, and it's just so beautiful. And that's sweet. And I just have very specific things that I do with them, and I just play, and they just think it's the grandest thing on earth. And I've been told that it's better than Disney World. It's not cheaper, but it's better. No, it is. It is cheaper than Disney World. So I do a lot of artwork with children. Really, I became known as a children's photographer because of the calendar thing, and I started doing this black and white with the hand-colored. Back in the day, I hand-colored all of this stuff. And of course, then I learned how to do it in the computer, and I got to where I could do the computer just as well as I did the hand stuff. And I miss doing the hand work like that, but I still do a lot of work. Well, I work in Painter. You're familiar with Painter? And I'll take an image far beyond normal, and then I will embellish it with oils and acrylics after the fact. And so that's the top of the line thing that I do at the studio. But I think always in the business end, I've been known for doing something that nobody else did. And so the fairies is a great example. Nobody else does that. Nobody else has the stuff. I'm not saying they couldn't do it, but they don't do it. And you know, it seems like, yeah, it's rattling a little bit, yeah. So if you want to make a living doing it, try to find something that is not what everybody else is doing. And it's sad that often just doing it in the studio is different enough. Just some more examples of some of that hand-colored thing that I used to do a lot of. Then this is one of the paintings, so First Communion, perfect for that kind of thing. You know, those flowers were not there. And it's soft, it's not beyond. The thing about the paintings for me is I want it to be realistic still, not beyond realistic. Let me check my time, doing good. This one I wanted to be a little more watercolory looking. If I printed it on watercolor paper rather than canvas. So those not three of the most beautiful children ever. So I think the biggest rule of anything would be let a kid be a kid. So if we want to review some of the things we've talked about, take a seat. Always remember, take a seat. Get down low on their level. You know, let them be a child. Don't try to be too controlling, because you can't control them, because let me just clue you in, they are in charge. You just pretend like you're in charge. You suggest, don't tell. You know, what if we go over here? Have you ever seen my tractor? It's a really cool tractor. Look at it, it's so cool. Look how big the wheels are. You want to sit up on that big old wheel? You could be like a superhero up there. Oh yeah, I want to get up there. You know, and all of a sudden it's their idea instead of your idea, right? I know, right? I just can't. I can't. Notice any similarities in Waylon and this guy? This is Waylon's uncle. This guy's 30. And did you see Waylon? And they look, you cannot tell them apart if you put side-by-side pictures of them, except for he's got brown eyes and Waylon's got blue eyes. Other than that, I swear, you cannot tell them apart. It's crazy. I know, this little guy. And you know, the thing is just the legacy of it all. I hope nobody in here knows this child. He was just one of the most beautiful children. And we did his sisters and his brothers after. And I had someone call me not long ago and say, do you remember so-and-so? And I said, well, yeah. And they said, well, you know, they got divorced. And I said, yeah, I think I had heard that. Well, you know, Dad didn't get any pictures. Is there any chance that you still have some of those? And I had just put this together. And I'm like, as a matter of fact, you know. So, I mean, if you're in business, that's a good thing. Dad has money. He can come rebuy all those portraits. That's double selling portraits is fine with me. That happens frequently. The decisive moment. And it comes from having confidence in your own ability, right? As photographers, if I could talk about one thing for hours, it would just be finding your own self, finding what makes you happy, what is beautiful to you, finding confidence in your work, and honing that decisive moment. Man, that decisive moment is everything. And with a child, now this is not what you would expect somebody to buy. But when those little boys, we did all the stand there and look at me things, we did the family, and then I wanted them to go walk out up on that dune, and I expected I would have them turn around, and we did, but they did this, and I thought, oh, that's it, and that's the one Mom bought for the wall. And I mean, is that not just those children? So, yes, sir. And I'm going to give you a Q&A too. Okay. But go ahead if you want to.
Do you do single shots or do you burst?
Say that?
You do a single shot?
Oh, no. We are not shooting birds. We are not bursting. We are not bursting. We are, oh, I know. I just got back from Africa. I know what bursting is. No, one single shot. And I shoot a lot of dancers and a lot of dancers, about 2,000 a year, and I do not burst. It never works. I'm telling you guys, let me tell you this. Bursting is great for birds, it's great for animals, but that decisive moment is the best thing you're ever going to learn in your life. Just wait for it and get it. You know what I'm saying? It's sweet. Okay, so some of you know that I did the flower project, right? And I'll tell you what, let's take a break real quick. Here's what we're going to do now, not get up and take a break. Let's go ahead and do Q&A. Anybody have a question for me? I hope you do. Yes, ma'am.
So I hear you say you have a studio. Most, well, I'll speak for myself, don't have a studio.
Correct.
You have families that want you to photograph their kids or want you at their family's house.
Right.
What type of lighting do you take?
If you're going on location and you want to use lighting rather than outside. Okay, well, if I can do it outside, I will always do it outside because, you know, the shortest distance between 2 points is you pick up your camera and take the picture, right? Put them on a front porch, you know, hopefully you're going to have some pretty light that you can do them in, and that is the easiest thing to do. I definitely later in the afternoon. I do not see getting up at sunrise for anybody. I mean, because you get up and then it's raining or it's cloudy or whatever, at least you know what's coming late in the afternoon, right? So typically about an hour and a half before sunset is where I want to be. If you guys go to the beach, 9 times out of 10, you're going to go way earlier than you need to be there, and that sunlight is harsh. And here in Florida, if you start paying attention to it, especially landscape photographers will know this, that as the sun goes down during a certain time of the year, you have a long time to play on the beach, and other times of the year you have a short time to play on the beach because the sun goes down and you go, oh, boom, 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 boom. We better get this done fast because it's getting dark really fast. But sometimes it's long and drawn out, and those days when we don't have what we have right now is the worst time, of course. It gets short, it gets dark really fast. So if you're out on the beach, that's problematic. If you're going to shoot in the house, to answer your question specifically, if you're going to use flash, you can do that. Consistent lighting or continuous lighting now is so popular, and that's a beautiful thing to do in that situation, especially if you don't do it all the time. Now you can really see what you're getting, and that's very, very helpful. Best case scenario in a down and dirty situation, you have one flash head, you point it towards the corner of a white room, and now that white room becomes a big softbox or a white wall. Does that make sense? Because I had a newer photographer call me not long ago, and she says, I'm in this family's house and the light looks terrible and I don't know what to do. And I was like, okay, you have your flashes with you? She said, yes. I said, take it and turn it toward, are the walls white? Yes. Are they like super high? No, they're just, normal. I said, okay, turn it and put the flash in the corner, and then the flash will spill out. So that's kind of a foolproof way to make that work if you don't really know what you're doing with flash. Does that help? Okay, great. Another question? Yes, sir? Mm-hmm. Oh, go ahead. Yes, sir?
I noticed a couple of your examples, you had dropped the tops of the heads off.
Yes.
Do you find that technique enhances expression?
I like to chop kids' heads off. No. Oh, I'm banned from Facebook. And it was you, too. No. Sometimes, yes. And I don't always do it, and sometimes I purposely do it after the fact. It just depends. It's just a look. And there's no real tried or true. You know, I would be safe always and get some with the head, in case the mom is not particularly artsy. You know, but a lot of my clients love that, and they think it's pretty, and I do love it. I do think it enhances sometimes the look, and it's not on every portrait, though. I think it's on a case-by-case basis.
Would it work with an aged adult?
Would I work with a...
If your subject was a senior citizen,
Uh-huh.
and you dropped the top of
A senior citizen?
sorry?
Would I... Yeah, go ahead.
Do it with a senior subject.
Would I do it to a senior subject? I'd chop their head further off. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, I would. You know, it depends on the portrait. It depends on their face. It depends on the facial structure of their bones. It just depends on how they're looking. Like the way she's sitting right here, right now, if I had this portrait light on her, I'd totally chop the top of her head off just a little bit. But I would also not be unhappy to have her head in there. You know, but I do enjoy that sometimes. And I don't care how old they are. Okay, yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that you don't burst. So
Correct.
Do you back button focus so that you've got good focus?
Okay, I do not burst. I back button focus to me is irrelevant because as long as you're focused, you're focused. It doesn't really matter. It depends on where you're the most comfortable. You know, Michael, Joseph, and I are very good friends. And we go round and round and round. And as you may imagine, I have an opinion. And when I started photographing with mirrorless cameras and the technology, it was a little bit of it was a hard change for me because I was so used to the DSLR and I really felt uncomfortable with the mirrorless camera and letting it do all that focusing and not touching anything. But when I had a dance school and he came, and I will, for whoever asked about the tripod, I do use a tripod at the dance schools. But I think it's obvious why I would do that, right? Because I'm sitting all day photographing hundreds of children, and I could, but I shouldn't hold that camera all day long. And also, when it is auto-focusing on the eye, like it will now with the mirrorless cameras, I literally can sit there and hit the button, and I never have to do anything, and it's going to be right 99.9% of the time. So I don't know that it's even relevant. It depends on the equipment you have and what you're the most comfortable with, because I do back button focus now, mainly because Michael told me I had to, and now I'm used to it, and I don't care. So, okay, other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Just to continue the question on crop and
Uh-huh.
composition.
Mhm.
You, crop off part of
Okay, that's a really good question, how to crop and to be very careful. You know, you don't want to crop where it looks awkward. And I see a lot of people cropping here below the knee, and that to me is very awkward. I would try to avoid that if at all possible. You don't want to have elbows like this and then crop these elbows out. That looks weird to me. It'd be better if the hands were more, you know, in like this. But I think it's on a case-by-case basis, what is going to be the best crop. And also, you know, for me, selling prints, you know, we have, of course I can do a custom size, but there's specific sizes that the lab offers that we want to kind of stay within normal, mainly because I don't want to just tell every customer, oh yeah, every print can be custom. Boy, you're just going to make yourself crazy. So we work within certain parameters for the prints, right? So sometimes it's a little problematic. Another thing you want to be careful of is you don't want a head too big. And I've been guilty of it. I did a kind of a closer in shot. We did a painting of a little boy, and he was sitting up in the gazebo, and it was more, he was sitting backwards, and it was more 3/4, right? And then they came back with a little girl, and they decided that they loved this one of her that was closer in, but they wanted the same size as his. And I did it, and I just have always felt guilty about it because it was too big. You know, it was bigger than life size. And so you need to be careful about, you know, how big you're making this little face, right? So it's all to taste, personal. Does that answer that a little bit? Go ahead. And what's really great, you know, is that you can go in there and crop it 10 different ways and look at it and enjoy it. You know, I think one thing I pride myself on is that I've been doing this so long that I'm pretty decisive and I'm pretty quick with it. So that's wonderful, but I've known photographers who will crop something 5 different ways and sit it up on a counter and look at it for a week before they decide how they want to crop it. So, you know, however it works best for you, but we've got the tools to do it however we want to do it now. And so you can have fun with it. Okay, another question. Anybody? Going once? No? We're good? Sure? Okay. So we'll talk about the flower project. So I don't know how many of you knew about the flowers that I did, this big project with flowers, and I did this book. And it was, if you ever want to know how to do books and galleries and flowers and all that stuff, boy, I have learned a lot doing all of that. That was incredibly crazy. But I like to do personal projects, and I like to do things that are not normal for me to do. I like to get outside my comfort zone, even at this point in my career. I mean, I've done, short of being famous, I guess I've done pretty much everything you can do as a photographer. I've done this for 30 years. I've made a really good living doing it. I've traveled the world. I was president of PPA. I got my master's. I got my fellowship. I got all that stuff. But what I'm really excited about is that at this point in my life, I really, really still love taking pictures. And so this was a big project that I did. And I think it's just important sometimes to put yourself out there and go beyond what's normal, push yourself, make yourself do stuff. And so I've got a couple of things to tell you about that are my big projects now. And I think this is the Africa thing. So I just got back from Africa for 30 days. I love Africa. How many of you have been? Oh my goodness, y'all are all rich. How many want to go? How many still want to go? It's expensive to go to Africa. It really is. I mean, it was a ridiculously expensive trip. And I think if I could go just stay there for 6 months, maybe I would get it out of my system. But I'm that person that, I'm not a morning person. But I am up at 4 o'clock in the morning in Africa for sure, ready to go. And I never want to come in. And if they give you the option to not come in for lunch, I'm the one voting for not going in for lunch. I don't care. Like I said to somebody, we were eating, and I'm like, why are we eating? Why are we eating? Like, we were eating breakfast, you know, because you go for a couple hours, those that have been, and then you stop and you eat your breakfast. And I'm like, I don't want to eat. I just want to go. Let's go, you know. And so it's great. I will tell you, when I looked around the room tonight, I thought, you know, one thing I wanted to say for sure is it's just great to have something that we all love this much, and you realize that so many people don't have anything that they ever love as much as something like photography. How many would say you're obsessed? No, not really? Okay, well, you know, it's really a beautiful thing to have something that you enjoy this much, and I'm really grateful and realize that I'm fortunate, lucky, and it's not normal to still love it this much after I've made a living doing it this long, that I would take the hard-earned money, go to Africa and sit in a Jeep for 30 days and, you know, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning so I could do stuff like this, because I've fallen in love with video. And so at this point in my life, learning how to do video in a very serious way has been really interesting. And I'm pretty proud of what I got in Africa. So let's see if it's going to do what we want it to do. had a rough life. So this isn't just any elephant, this is Craig, the oldest elephant on Earth. And his tusks go all the way to the ground. And there's only a few of them left, the big tuskers. But we got to spend a couple of hours with Craig, and he was putting on a show for us. So that was really fun. Thank you. Learning to shoot video is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, and doing it as a senior citizen. I don't know why I did. I didn't start this back when I was, in my 40s, but the equipment has changed so much. But still, it's like, doing this with I got so many microphones on me, I'm afraid to touch myself. Doing this with you're trying to decide, when am I going to take pictures, when am I going to shoot video. I mean, you could hypothetically have a video camera and a camera, which was what my plan was, but realistically, that doesn't work so well when you're in those trucks. And you've got other people in the trucks, so you're dealing with other people. You're getting the perfect video, and then somebody decides to sit down hard in their chair, and the whole truck shakes. For those of you who've been to Africa, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's just a real give and take on that. But I'm real proud of what I've been able to learn with the video and where that's going to take me. And what that really came down to was I've been threatening to start a YouTube channel for years, because I just see such a hole in the information that's out there for photographers, not just about how to make a living, but have you ever seen anything on YouTube as saturated as it is about how to photograph children? I mean, you can hardly find anything. There's a little bit on there every now and then, but there is almost nothing. And what is the prime way a photographer that photographs people could make a living? Photographing children. I mean, people will spend money on their children, and they still will spend money despite the craziness that we're in with our world, right? So I have been working on, at the suggestion of a friend, a 30 video series for photographers. I think there's probably a few of you in here that would get a lot out of some of those. It's on everything from, there's a set on mindset and how you're thinking about being a photographer, to whether or not you want to make a living at it, when are you ready to go from hobbyist to pro, then there's a whole set on cameras and understanding the exposure triangle and understanding composition and cropping and lighting and storytelling, and then there's a whole section on you know, how to keep a business going if you are running a business. And so I think it's just a really comprehensive set of videos that are like 8 to 10 or 12 minutes a piece. And so there are going to be worksheets with each one of them, and I say that because there are 25 of them are videoed, and that has been a huge thing to learn technically, how to sit and talk to a camera and that long and give information in a precise, concise way. And the reason I'm telling you is because it's pretty much ready to go. I'm on the last leg of figuring out the last piece, which is how to use this platform I have now paid a fortune for, because you have to have something like that to be able to manage all of that stuff, where you can go download the worksheets and put your email in and all of that good stuff. So I just spoke at our guild about the whole Africa trip, and I talked to them, and I thought, well, why not tell you guys about it? Because I would love for you guys to be my feedback, to give me ideas. I would love you to be my support, to go in there, even if you just like and subscribe, that would be wonderful. If you don't even watch it, or if it's not your thing, turn it on and put your phone down and just let it run while you're cooking. Let it run to the end, please, thank you. Like and subscribe. And I think it would be a lot of fun to use this group, use that group to kind of help propel that, and because it is I think pretty big, and I've done a lot with all of this, but it's a big endeavor to do all of that. So you could go to iwanttobeaphotographer.com, which is pretty simple, and you can sign up for the emails now. I'm this close to being able to figure out how to have it thank you and send you the option to download the video, the worksheet to the first video that I just did. And now we're getting ready to put them up, and they'll go up every Thursday and every Sunday till I run out of videos, and it will be sometime into February before that happens. So there'll be 2 of them going up a week, and it'll be all kinds of things photography. And then after that, I think I'm gonna do a 20-day in Africa vlog. So I'm gonna take you day by day through the whole Africa trip, because there's just so much with the whole, the animals and everything. So that's exciting to me. So if you want to go to iwanttobeaphotographer.com and sign up, you can. I think there will be a way for me to tell you. I can email you and say, hey, there's a new video. That's the plan for paying the $3,000 it's going to cost for this platform. So any of you that want to participate, that would be lovely to have friends on there. And let's see, I think, nope, we want to go backwards. Don't do that again. Yes, this is the picture that started it all. This child's 30 now. This is my niece, Taylor. She's like my baby. And I stuck her in that bird bath. And oh, you guys, I got that bird bath. It wasn't Hobby Lobby then. It was something back then over in Mandarin. And it was 50% off. And I hem and hawed about buying that dang bird bath. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to buy this bird bath, thinking I'm going to sit a baby in it with angel wings. And who knew that this was just going to be the start to a career, because I had been in music for 20 years. And that was in my mom's yard. I was not a professional photographer when I took it. And I have probably photographed 200 kids in that bird bath. And over the over the years. And there was a time when I would do 5 or 6 of these a week. And real photographers would tell me, don't show anybody, there's pictures of babies with angel wings. Well, I hate to tell you, I'm still photographing pictures of babies with angel wings. Gets me to Africa, got me to the North Pole, got me on the cover of PPA magazine. So you know what? Babies and angel wings ain't a bad thing. But that's my baby in angel wings, and that was the image that started it all. So the channel is the Photo Chick, which I think is kind of cute. You can be my peeps. And I want to be a photographer.com will get you signed into Kajabi, which is where I'm going to keep everybody so that I can let you know how everything's going. And we'll see if everybody else can do this YouTube thing, why can't I? Right? Okay, that's all I got for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.